The school exam results are out. Newspapers and media is full of rank holders, interviews, the hardships they faced, um, interesting stories about children who have scored tons and tons of marks. Swami's cousin brother has also cleared the plus 2 or 12th grade exam this year with fantastic marks, 1158 out of 1200, which is very good. But he wasn't that happy. When Swami asked him why is he so unhappy despite scoring such good marks, his question was, what if I don't get a seat in the top college with these marks, some XYZ college? This is a disease that has already consumed the entire school education sector and is already becoming an epidemic in the higher education space as well. In case you still live in a cave in Gupta Kashi, parents in Tamil Nadu, a state where Swami is, stand in a serpentine queue long before the sun wakes up to wake you and everyone else to get admission form for their child's admission in, wait, take a deep breath, play school. And that form doesn't even guarantee an actual admission, helping the umpteen schools with high brand value rake in the moolah with just form sales. The multi-tier complex fee structure that will confound even Raghuram Rajan comes into play after an entrance exam right from LKG and in-person interview of both the child and parents. If you haven't got that what the expression on your face yet, you are certainly one of those parents waiting in a queue. Pause here for a moment and imagine thousands of children who not only don't get to choose their school. Right to education, law is supposed to help them get educated, but anyway, law is an ass and we all know that. They can't even continue their education without support from a few benevolent souls like you and me year after year. Most parents have a plan for their child's education, which in all probability is something connected with what they failed to accomplish or to ensure continuity of what their current profession is. For example, doctor's child will become doctor, business owner's son will become business owner, university chancellor's son will become university chancellor. Of course, everyone will say Manusmriti is discriminatory and they will talk ill about it, but essentially that's exactly what they all do without talking about it. And the plan for their children is typically steered and most probably funded as well by a few close relatives, friends, and sometimes banks. Those who don't have a direct say in that planned pursuit will extend their collective goodwill, guidance, and if and only if requested, some assistance as to when it's required. But there are thousands of children, probably millions at a national level, brilliant ones, who live in abject poverty and cannot or will not continue their education without external assistance, which their parents may not even be aware of in terms of how, who, and where. Let's rekindle your memory, presuming you are a long-term Swami reader, with an example. Sri N.S., Mr. N. Subramaniam, Swami is 82 years young, socially active, inspirational father-in-law, has been helping brilliant but economically challenged children continue their education for over a decade through the Meenakshi Vidyapeeth Trust in Madurai. You may recall Swami used to run campaigns to raise funds under the guise of Light the Knowledge Lamp every year. These children, all of whom are as eager as your and my child to study, have no means whatsoever to continue their education on their own. Their fathers typically are daily wage laborers, and mothers are servant maids or homemakers. Many of them have more than one child when they can't assure a better future, comparatively, of course, to even one. Your heart will bleed, and you will certainly be moved to tears if you meet and interact with them. You can, of course, during the annual Fund Giving Day scheduled on June 26th in 2016. If you look at the marks they score every year, provided they continue their education, they score in the top of their class, above 90%. Some of them are very active in extracurricular activities like quiz. Um, Many of them are not healthy enough to participate in sports. That's a sad thing, because if they get food for um, one time a day, that will be a big thing for them. So many of them are intelligent and smart enough to participate in quiz programs. Knowing how dire the situation is, Swami and many other kind souls connected with Shri NS go out with a virtual begging bowl, requesting their near and dear acquaintances for donation to ensure continuity of the education for these children, varying from primary school to professional college degree. You will be surprised at the magnitude of benevolence shown by people, which is minuscule compared to what is required. Generosity always seems to be slumbering, especially when year after year we practically beg people to help those who really need help. A 500 here or 1,000 there is a nice gesture, but also just a notional one. Many don't even respond. We have become immune to such conscious ignorance by now, but never let it deter us from seeking help, like I am doing now. Similar examples are abound. Sevalaya is another example, located in a nondescript village called Kasuwa on the outskirts of Chennai. The school secures 100% pass in both plus 2 and 10th standard year after year. They offer free education to poor and orphan children only through benevolence of donors. Of course, it's far well known than Meenakshi Vidyapeeth Trust and receives a lot of corporate funding too. Shivananda Gurukulam on the other side of Chennai after Tambaram is yet another example. There are numerous NGOs and individuals who are doing their bit to enable a few hundreds or thousands who are in need. But in reality, there are millions more who genuinely need help, and we are still talking only about India. The stark contrast between well-publicized so-called success stories of hard work resulting in sky-high marks and state-level ranks, of course, the ever-rising brand value of popular schools that keep churning out road champions year after year, and the students who have no assurance of even completing their education is so alarming that one can't help but wonder why. Despite his open apathy for his own species' abject stupidity in whatever they do, reflected in many of his sharp daily quotes and occasional blogs, Swami never fails to mull about and share whatever little that can be done to change the attitude at least a wee bit and ignite action from at least a small percentage of fellow humans. So here goes his take on the human being's boundary of benevolence. But for whatever incomprehensible reason, they are convinced that they don't have to express it in any way, beyond their own family, that is. If you are confused as to the abrupt start of the sentence, I will now give you the first part of it. All humans are benevolent. Well, almost all. One must accept reality. by nature. But for whatever incomprehensible reason, they're convinced that they don't have to express it in any way beyond their own family, that is. Humans remain convinced my responsibility is limited to taking care of my family. True, but really? Most humans do not express their benevolence in any way. These are the "it's not my problem, yaar," or "what can I do, yaar" type. Let's say someone tells you there is water on the road. It's not my problem, yaar. Politicians suck. What can I do, yaar? The dog catcher has taken away the mommy of 5 newborn stray puppies. It's not my problem, yaar. Millions of poor children cannot continue their education. What can I do, yaar? You get the drift. Many humans do not go beyond tokenism when it comes to helping others. These are the 500 here, 1000 there type. As an example, we are offering Annadhanam for over 3 lakh seekers on Mahashivratri. Here is my contribution, 500 rupees. We are conducting annual car festival in the local temple. Here is my contribution, rupees 100. We are helping 60 poor children continue their education. Here is my contribution, 1000 rupees. They are obviously better than the first two characters, but there is a predetermined limit to what they contribute to which, and that limit hardly ever gets a raise. Few humans step beyond the tokenism and actually offer meaningful help to the genuinely needy. These are the "I take care of my driver's or servant maid's child's education," or "I regularly contribute to XYZ cause" type. While obviously commendable compared to the first three types, they are often not too keen on extending their benevolence to causes or organizations that aren't well known to them personally. Such limited perspective of varied needs of the world usually limits their benevolence to a bunch of hand-picked organizations, some of whom may already be well funded. Even few humans actually get involved in making a difference in someone's life, even if that person or organization isn't connected to them in any way. These are the people willing to explore the many options to expand their giving, open to listening to what's the purpose of an individual or organization's cause, keen on extending the range of their benevolence, at times directly related to their own income stream. For example, a rise in their regular income may actually result in an increase in the charity spend. The challenge is finding such benevolent humans, since most of them prefer to remain away from the public glare or publicity, which could result in many not so genuine entities from pestering them for funds all year long. Only a handful of humans actually end up changing the world at whatever level they can, in whichever area they choose to, however they can. These are the Sri NS type of people. Not all such humans are celebrities or even well known outside their circle of admirers and supporters. Take for example the case of Sri NS himself. He isn't a rich man. He was a government servant, very ethical, never made any money for himself or his next generation. Only sufficient enough to give them good education, and after that they have been on their own with his blessings and occasional support. But he had a singular vision, driven by a purpose he totally believed in, to ensure continuity of education for needy students. Here is a snapshot of his meticulous journey of selfless benevolence, steering the Meenakshi Vidyapeeth Trust single-handedly for the first few years, for over a decade now. He went about finding children who needed financial assistance to continue their education, starting with the poor neighborhood close to his home in Madurai. He would make their parents fill a detailed form. He was a government servant after all his professional life, and promptly cross-verify the details provided. Talk about accountability. The funds received have to go only to those who really deserve it. He will then go about contacting people known to him and request funds, never forgetting to send them a formal letter of request and invite for the funds giving event, and request them to request funds from more people known to them. For example, Swami, being his son-in-law, will be requested by NS, who in turn will request his colleagues, friends, and relatives. He will ensure all the funds raised are deposited in a bank account created exclusively for this purpose. Accountability once again, and a receipt is issued to each and every donation, however small it is. He will plan the funds giving day well ahead and communicate to many, requesting each of them to be present in person. Only a few turn up, unsurprisingly. He will meticulously prepare a case register with each filled form with his own handwritten notes highlighting anything that's worth notice, and hand it over to a panel of dignitaries, many of whom are now part of the board of trustees, invited to hand over the donations. He will organize an in-person interview of each student along with accompanying parents to not only check their credentials and current status, but also to offer a piece of appropriate advice, personalized, as he is known for almost all of them personally. He will ensure at least one more dignitary unrelated to the NGO to be present on D-Day, that is the funds giving day, to address the gathering of beneficiaries and offer valuable advice for their pursuit of education. This is over and above the speeches given by the Board of Trustees themselves, including Shri NS. He will organize seating and free food for the event at his own expense from his retirement savings, year after year. He will ensure all the funds collected are dispersed to students on the D-Day itself, somehow or other. Next year comes only next year. On conclusion of the event, he will ensure the disbursement details are meticulously documented and send a copy of the event summary and funds dispersed by name, category, etc. to each trust member and also some of the highest contributors. Occasionally, but always regularly, he will contact the students or their parents to check the continuity of education and progress made during the year. He will restart and complete the cycle diligently year after year, and he has done so for a decade now. About 7 students who have received financial assistance from Meenakshi Vidyapeeth Trust have now graduated and secured jobs in large organizations, including some of the IT behemoths. These are children who didn't have much hope of even continuing their education. Many of them don't know who all helped them, but remain indebted to Shri NS as their savior, though he himself humbly remains only a conduit, simply connecting the donors with the beneficiaries. These achievers, yes, in the true sense of the word, are now being included as active members of the trust. They will be the ambassadors who will take the reach of the trust far and beyond what Shri NS and the trust members themselves can. They will eventually become members of the trust board itself. Our boundary of benevolence can be as non-existent as the first category of I, me, mine people, or as broad as the last Shri NS kind of humans, or anywhere amidst these two categories. As ever, what we can do remains boundless, and what we really do is bounded by faith, belief, relationships, ideals, preconceived notions, etc. But the choice to do something purposeful in order to be someone valuable is always ours. Meenakshi Vidyapeeth Trust will give away the funds raised to deserving students this year too, on 26th June 2016 at Madurai. You can contribute funds for this year's event directly transferred online to the trust account or via check or as cash to Swami, irrespective of whichever category you belong, known only to you. You can explore a bit and take the responsibility of funding one or more children's education directly for one or more years. Do ping Swami or Sri NS if you are an explorer for details and guidance. You can expand a bit and request your near, dear and acquaintances to contribute funds. Feel free to use the details shared in this post or ping Swami for any custom messages. You can expand a bit more and directly engage with the trust as an active member. You obviously have to meet Sri NS to get started on this enchanting journey, which could turn out to be a rewarding lifelong pursuit. What you do or not will always remain your choice, but whatever you do or not, keep in mind this, not just for joining hands with Meenakshi Vidyapeeth Trust naturally. The circumference of your compassion is limited only by the boundary of your benevolence. Be joyful and spread the cheer. Prakash Swami.